And it appears we have a live stream. Hello everybody, my name is Bear with BearIndependent.com. I am grabbing the link to post for the patrons right this red hot moment. Today we're going to talk about all of the cool prepper things, all of the fads. You guys know how it goes. And already there's people here. Bless y'all. Let me Alt-Tab. There we go. And do the best. Tremendous. Hashtag bear thumbs. There we go. All right. So, hey, societal collapse. It's the hot button topic right now, right? As maybe it should be. We're going to look at that. Intel brief, Bear Independent, 20 October 2021. As always, how to prepare for the coming market crash or similar is a popular title that sold a lot of advertising. Some experts say things look stable enough, albeit slow to recover. Others say a stellar season is coming. And still others express fear of huge Great Depression style crash that could last for decades. Are we in a bubble? Will the bubble pop? What will happen? Predicting the future is a fool's game. What's happening now? Economic challenges that have arisen in China have impacted many other countries, and it may be about to get worse. Slowed factory outputs, energy shortages, supply chain issues, and throttled trade were all joined by the property downturn. The property market, which is a large percentage of the Chinese economy, as well as the American economy, where there's huge amounts of speculation taking place right now, is a key component to watch. The issues have wider impacts in the economies of surrounding countries and ultimately the world as trade falters and supply chains continue to struggle. Fortunately, the fears of mass evictions after the end of the eviction moratoriums have not been realized, but the U.S. has other issues to contend with as it struggles to see the return of the workforce as expected. It is a workers' job market out there. The New York Times noted that there were over 10 million jobs available in August, 5 million fewer people working, and 3 million fewer people interested in finding a job at all. And now, of course, for a lot of us, this is just going to be common sense. But common sense isn't so common anymore. This is good in some ways. America's lack of care and flexibility for their employees stands out sorely when compared to many other modernized countries, and after decades of shrinking wages and skyrocketing costs, workers are demanding more pay, more flexibility. Families are realizing where their values truly lie, and many who can afford to are choosing to slow down. Some theorize that the frequent school shutdowns may be preventing parents from returning to work. I think that's definitely possible. I also think it's possible that many children who were in public school a couple of years ago aren't in public school now because you couldn't go to public school. And after doing the homeschool thing for a while, many parents, I personally know many parents who've said, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to be in charge of this facet of my child's life too. Jocko Fuel. Afterburner Orange. I believe this is Dave Burke's flavor. It's delicious. They don't pay me to tell you that. I pay good money. Yeah, Dave Burke. Signature flavor. What's up, Dave? At least in the short term, it looks like costs will continue to rise, but in this job market, insisting on adequate compensation is reasonable. Most experts continue to recommend reasonable, steady contributions to a diversified retirement portfolio that has tax advantages if possible. In the past, many have lost years of crucial wealth building because they listened to the doomsday personalities of the time. Still, it is always wise to continue to prepare on both fronts. If the economy and the world continues to recover, be ready for that, but be ready for it to fall apart too. Stack it to the rafters. And we've got all of the relevant links today, as always, in the description down below, both on Patreon and on YouTube. And we're going to breeze through some of this stuff because we touched on it on Monday. From finance.yahoo.com, global economy, China's economic wobbles cast long shadow for Asia. We saw this earlier. For China's trading partners, the slippage presents new risks to what is shaping up to be a bumpy global recovery from the pandemic slump. All this is by design, by the way, says me. Klaus Schwab, our favorite supervillain, told us so. HSBC analysis showed Asia-Pacific economies from South Korea to New Zealand are far more correlated to changes in China's growth than they were to changes in the U.S. or European GDP. Oh, you think? So Asian-Pacific economies near China are more closely tied to China's economy than they are to the United States or the UK. Huh. I'm glad that a World Bank, HSBC, was able to figure that out. I'm pretty sure my 5-year-old could have told you that. This is what we call proximity. For every percentage point China added to its growth, trade powerhouse South Korea reported about 0.7% of a point of additional growth. South Korea was by far the most sensitive to changes in Chinese growth, according to the analysis, followed by export nations Thailand and Taiwan. An anticipated Chinese slowdown has already prompted Citibank analysts to downgrade growth projections for economies in the region, including South Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, and Vietnam. So the point of this article is it's not just China that's having issues, it's the whole region. And by issues, we're on the brink of issues. Could get bad. Could recover. Could get bad. Did I mention that? Could get bad. And if you are an optimistic catastrophist or even a pessimistic catastrophist, you can latch onto that and make hay out of that all day long. And I'll tell you that I am trying to be, I have honestly been thinking about this deeply the last few days. I am trying to be more optimistic, not just for my future, which I am optimistic about, but our future, everybody within the sound of my voice. Doing a lot of mental gymnastics to figure out what the next moves are for us as a whole. I know what the next moves are for me. I'd like to make a clear determination as to what the next moves are for us as a whole so that we can discuss that and then we can move forward appropriately. I am very pessimistic about America currently as far as the longevity of said nation. However, I do think that we have the possibility, it is in our hands, that whatever comes next could be something good. And it's up to us to be as strong as possible through this downturn so that whatever comes next, we can have a say in. We need to be as strong as possible so that we can direct the flow of resources, so that we can have our input on our governance, so that we can have some input on legislation, laws, bills, etc. And I don't really feel like jumping into the rabbit hole of they, but whatever comes next, the stronger you are, the better you will be able to weather that storm, and the more input you're going to have in whatever comes next. From NASDAQ.com, more pain predicted for the China stock market. The global forecasts for the Asian market suggest mild consolidation amid volatility and uncertainty, with crude oil prices offering slight support. The European and U.S. markets were down for the Asian bourses and are expected to open in similar fashion. Blah, 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 numbers, lots of numbers and percentages. The lead from Wall Street ends up being negative as the major averages spend all of Tuesday bouncing back and forth across the unchanged line before finally settling slightly in the red. From markets.businessinsider.com, the big short investor Michael Burry warns the stock market boom reminds him of the dot-com bubble and rings the alarm on options mania. Here's this fella right here. Goonies never say die, bro. Goonies never say die. Michael Burry said the recent surge in stocks remind him of the dot-com bubble. Burry said the current market boom reminds him of the dot-com bubble and compared the current options trading frenzy to the rampant speculation that precipitated the Great Depression in a flurry of recent tweets that have since been deleted. The Scion Asset Management chief tweeted a screenshot of FinancialWeb.com stock chart. The defunct company behind Stock Detective and other financial information websites saw its share prices nosedive from a high of $28 to a fraction of a cent following the dot-com crash. A very common chart back in the day, Burry said. Looks vaguely familiar. Moreover, the hedge fund manager compared the bull market during the 15 years to 2000 to the run-up in stocks over the past 15 years. He highlighted a 94% correlation between the NASDAQ 100's performance in each of those periods and a 95% correlation for the S&P 500 index. The Scion chief also drew a parallel between the surge in people trading options on meme stocks such as AMC Entertainment and the mass speculation that preceded the Wall Street crash of 1929. He juxtaposed, good word there, I like juxtaposed, especially because it has certain musical connotations as well. Plus, it's one of those $50 words that if you use it in a sentence, people will look at you and go, not only are you handsome, but apparently you're smart as well. He juxtaposed an article about the options mania with a quote by a statistician named Leroy Peavy in November of 1929. Peavy blamed the market crash that year on a wave of leveraged speculation that pulled in elevator boys, typewriter girls, and even school children. So in other words, this dude here who knows a lot about the stock market and made a lot of money and also occasionally rescues ghost pirate ships knows a thing or two about what's going on, says, hey, I'm seeing a 94 to 95% correlation between the 2000 stock market crash, the dot-com bubble, and where we are today. The speculation that we see today. So, take it with a grain of salt. I am not a financial advisor. I don't even play one on YouTube. I found this article from The Guardian quite interesting, frankly, while I was looking for clickbait thumbnails to find on Google Images. And it's from The Guardian. It's a couple months old. I don't know if anybody else has reported on this, but I found it fascinating. A controversial MIT study from 1972 forecasts the collapse of civilization, and Gaia Harrington is here to deliver the bad news. Oh, thank you, Gaia. You're thebomb.com. Do I still have a live stream? I do indeed have a live stream. Hey, Dudley, what's up, bro? By the way, I tried to go onto All My Links and tell everybody I was live via All My Links, and it wasn't cooperating. I'll get with you about that later. But I did post the All My Links in the description down below. So, 50%, which is a hell of a batting average if this was baseball. At a UN sustainability meeting several years ago, an economic policy officer came up to Gaia Harrington and introduced himself. Taking her name for a riff on James Locklove's Earth as an Organism Gaia hypothesis, he remarked, Gaia, that's not a name, it's a responsibility. And there's a whole bunch more of that type of bullcrap fluff in this article. The point here is that this lady, Gaia Harrington, became aware of an MIT study in 1972 that tracked 10 different metrics to determine the sustainability of our current civilization. They wrote a book about it, The Limits to Growth, and what they found was this article, what they found. Harrington, 39, says she undertook the update, she did the research independently out of pure curiosity about data accuracy. Her findings were bleak. Current data aligns well with the 1970s analysis that showed economic growth could end at the end of the current decade and collapse come about 10 years later in worst case scenarios. So MIT predicted a collapse by 2040. FYI, that's somewhere around 18 years away. And this lady, Gaia Harrington, said that of all the research that she has done to support or dismiss that hypothesis, she has found a great amount of correlation between the research she has done currently using historical data that's been collected since 1972 when the MIT article was put together and now, and finds that, yes, in fact, all these things line up. Now, there are multiple different news outlets that have basically copy-pasted the same story. But what was interesting is that about half of them that I saw, and I thumbed through a dozen of them before the live stream, half of them made it almost entirely about global warming. This is why the Earth is going to end because of the massive global, international corporations are causing the polar ice caps to melt and whatever their talking points are. They made it all about climate change. I found that interesting. The MIT study, Harrington says, was never about making predictions, but to show potential paths forward during a time of immense change. Harrington's review concludes that the 1972 study was essentially on target. The 1972 study's authors, Harrington points out, were looking for paths towards a stabilized world in terms of economic growth. She says there's nothing inevitable about its predictions even now. Quote, "The key finding on my study is that we still have a choice to align with a scenario that does not end in collapse. With innovation in business, along with new developments by governments and civil society, continuing to update the model provides another perspective on the challenges and opportunities we have to create a more sustainable world." And all the synergy and buzzwords and talking points and trust falls and these are my pronouns and all of that goes on in the article. You've got the link in the description down below. Old news, but still good news from RT.com. Beijing's recent hypersonic missile test launch may have just rendered all of Washington's, that's us, Washington, D.C.'s defense systems useless. By Scott Ritter, former USMC, did some stuff with Schwarzkopf during the Gulf War, and a UN weapons inspector. Sup, Ritter? Here we have a picture of a missile. China has conducted a test of space launch technology that, if adapted for use as nuclear weapons system, could nullify U.S. defenses against Chinese missile attacks. It's a hypersonic missile. It goes so fast that our current missile defense systems can't catch up with it. And that's a really, really dumbed down version of what this article is going to say, but that's essentially the point of it. Together, Russia and China have just made moot trillions of dollars in U.S. defense spending. You know, but here's the thing. We don't even care about trillions of dollars anymore. We're just printing them. Printing them. It's like somewhere in a basement in D.C. somewhere are a whole bunch of Hewlett-Packard LaserJet printers just spitting out dollar bills, man. And they're like, hey, these aren't real dollar bills. And then there's some guy snickering in the corner, ha, ha, ha. They're not real anyway, ha, ha, ha. It's all made up. It's like, whose line is it anyway? The game where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. It's all made up. So who cares? Just another few $1 trillion. Whatever. It's almost about ratios now. They, the big they, have X amount, and we, the little we, have Y smaller amount, right? And so it's more about ratios and leverage than it is about the actual numbers anymore, because the numbers just keep going up. But I digress. A report published in the Financial Times declared that sometime in August of 2021, China had conducted a test of nuclear-capable hypersonic glide vehicle that flew through low-orbit space, circling the globe before deorbiting and heading towards its target. According to sources, the test demonstrated an advanced space capability that caught the U.S. intelligence by surprise. Fabulous. According to Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall in an address delivered on 20 September 2021, the Chinese test mirrored a Cold War technology known as fractional orbital bombardment systems, or FOBs. FOBs, Kendall noted, is a system that basically goes into orbit and then deorbits to the target. First developed by the Soviet Union in the 1960s, FOBs was a way to avoid defense systems and missile warning systems. In other words, it's bad, y'all. It's really bad. China's got a toy that we don't have, and their toys are now cooler than our toys. And if we don't get some new cooler toys, then they're going to be king of the sandbox and or use their toys to utterly destroy us. We're not sure which one yet. Question mark. And if we could just go ahead and get like 3,000 or 4,000 more of those HP LaserJets spun up in another basement just spitting out dollar bills, that'd be fine. Is this an actual threat to the United States? Sounds like it, yes. Yep. Here's the thing with nuclear war. Get this question all the time from a preparedness standpoint. And it's usually breathlessly with mucho anxiety. Bear, what do I do if we get nuked? I don't know. You get irradiated or you don't. And if you don't, which is mostly a function of population density, then you try to survive the fallout. And if you can survive the fallout, then I hope you're really good at gardening. And maybe you got some food put back. And also, maybe you alone, you stud muffin, have to repopulate all of planet Earth. I don't know. Bad stuff's going to happen if nuclear bombs fall. Is there a likelihood of nuclear bombs falling? From the Chinese, I'm going to say no, because, and this is subject to change at any moment, I reserve the right to change my opinion at any moment, because you don't nuke something that you want to occupy. You nuke something that you want to deny to your enemy. And roughly 38% of U.S. farmland is owned by China. We've already seen from lots of good reporting from other sources, including Forward Observer, the depths to which the Chinese government and intelligence services have penetrated our governments, not just federal, not just state, but even county governments in key counties. They've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people here. They've got lots of resources here. They're invested heavily in the United States stock market. They produce a bumper crop of food here in the States that's then shipped back. And currently, we're still their number one largest economic trade partner. So nuking us is probably not a good idea for China. This is more of a playground flex. Check out my new Tonka truck, bro. Than it is, I'm going to beat you to death with my Tonka truck. My opinion. Subject to change at any point. From Axios.com, found this article. Encouraging and fascinating. 18 October is the dateline. Over 30 states have limited officials' public health powers. Republican lawmakers in more than 30 U.S. states have weakened health officials' authority to implement policies to protect the public against the coronavirus, the New York Times reports. Since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, lawmakers in all 50 states have introduced bills to curb state and local officials' public health authority. Lawmakers in 32 states have passed laws that prevent officials from issuing. They've prevented officials from requiring two men to go on a date. Picking up what I'm putting down here? Two men are going on a date. What would you call that? It'd be a man date, right? So lawmakers in 32 states have passed laws that prevent officials from issuing two guys on a date, shutting down churches, schools, and businesses, conducting contact tracing, or imposing penalties for violating health restrictions per the Times. In 13 states, lawmakers have limited public health officials' powers to make two men go on dates. And in 23 states, bills have been passed limiting officials' ability to issue restrictions on schools, businesses, and churches. In Florida, a bill passed allowing the governor to stop local health orders if they are considered too restrictive, the Times noted. And it goes on from there. There's lots of other decent reporting here at Axios.com. And that's about the State of the Union as far as I'm concerned for today. I appreciate Forge, you're picking up what I'm putting down, brother. Dan Mates, there you go, Rufus Lumpkin. I appreciate y'all. Let's talk about some people that I love. SanctifiedSupplyCo.com. Sanctified Supply Co. are friends of ours, Jerry and Lucia, and y'all, the Bear Nation, moved them, or you helped support them in their move from the Pacific Northwest to the central United States, to the Ozarks. I don't know if y'all remember, if you've been here long enough, I had a call with Jerry and Lucia, and they're like, we want to come out of Her My People. We need to move off of the left coast and into the center of the country. We need help. And I said, how many t-shirts do you need to sell in order to make that happen? And they said, a bajillion, 11, 12, 47 gazillion. And I said, okay, cool. Send me a link. And in 4 days, you in the Bear Nation, y'all bought enough t-shirts from Sanctified Supply Co. to cover all of their expenses. And I love the fact that they earned it. They didn't ask for charity. They didn't ask for a handout. They earned it. They printed and shipped every one of those t-shirts for every one of y'all that bought a t-shirt and helped lift them up like on eagle's wings to get from the left coast to the center of the country. And I'm a big fan of Sanctified Supply Co. And they have many awesome t-shirts and hoodies The humble and kind tee right here is the unofficial uniform of the Bear Nation. And so if you don't have one of these Stay Humble and Kind t-shirts, I recommend that you get one. And I'd also like to point out that they have some cool shirts over here from Shield Bearer of Faith. David used a rock, I use a Glock right here. Very cool. And the Shield Bearer of Faith long sleeve. I heard the voice of the Lord, here I am, send me. I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And then I replied, here I am, send me. And very cool. They've got lots of cool stuff, stickers and patches. They've got hats with the Shema under the bill of the hat, which is super cool. And I got all types of different hats. So we love them. They're awesome. You see under here, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And so super cool. Sanctified Supply Co. So go check them out. Tell them Bear sent you. Leave them a little love note. Say hi to them. And then, of course, our friends over at AdventureFrontier.com, who were instrumental in helping us launch Refuge Medical. Before Refuge Medical was even called Refuge Medical, we could have never gotten off the ground without help from our friends at AdventureFrontier.com. So if you, if you don't know anything about fluffy bunnies, if you're not read in on fluffy bunnies, don't worry about it. But it's all about the fluffy bunnies, okay? So if you need a fluffy bunny sticker, a fluffy bunny patch, they have the Bear Fact, they have the Bear Minimum. They got all kinds of prepper gear in their store. So if you're in the market for some prepper gear, some Spartan armor, some plates, some helmets, stuff from North American Rescue, all that stuff, camping stuff, they've got all that at AdventureFrontier.com. So swing by, say hi to them, tell them Bear said, what's up? Now, Refuge Medical, which is one of my companies, handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever, 26 lives saved in the last 2 years on 4 continents with 4 branches of the armed forces, exceeds military specification. That's why soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines are buying these for themselves, or their loved ones are buying them for them, because this is way better than what they are issued for saving lives in theater. Additionally, we've got more lives saved here in the United States of America with these kits than we do on the battlefield of Iraq and Afghanistan. And so if you're interested in the best first aid kit you can get, I recommend going to refugemedical.com. You may have seen Magic Prepper talking about the wound care bucket, or our buddy JJ from Reality Prepping talking about the wound care bucket, or Pastor Joe talking about the wound care bucket. We got buckets here. Sorry, Hunter Seeker, you said don't talk about buckets, and I forgot until right now. So don't talk. Listen, everybody who's here, how many of y'all are here? There are 1,161 of you. Don't talk about buckets. Whatever you do, don't anything have nothing to do with the wound care bucket. It definitely isn't filled with gauze and tape and gloves and disinfectant, and you definitely can't add surgical kits to it, or a bucket opener, or a copy of Pastor Joe's book, Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America. These buckets, they don't exist. Definitely don't have anything to do with the wound care bucket. They are not a great product to stack in your barn or in your shed or in your closet in case there's issues. You definitely don't want to buy one. Just, that never happened. Additionally, we've got all these other awesome handmade kits. Again, exceed military specification. The SOB is my jam right now. I've got an SOB on my war belt and on my plate carrier, so I can operate like an operator. They're the bomb. They got everything you need to work the March algorithm: massive bleeding, airway, respiratory, circulation, head injury, hypothermia. Plus, it's a little tiny kit, and it weighs as much as one loaded AR magazine. So the SOB kit is what's up. HSA and FSA eligible, everything on the store. If you just need medical components, we got everything from tourniquets to sutures to SAM splits to quick litters to combat gauze, all that stuff, cervical collars, all the stuff right here. Oh, BVMs, the whole nine. The shears, the blah, 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 all that stuff. And then if you don't know how to use that stuff that you get from refugemedical.com, you go to refugetraining.com, where Brother Phelps and Brother Twitch are going to lay hands on you. They're going to be healed. They might beat the ever-loving tar out of you with a white patent leather jacket, knock you off the stage. But the good news is you'll be able to get up and walk out of that wheelchair when you're done. Wait. Wrong thing. Refuge Training teaches you real-world stuff that actually matters, which is how to use a tourniquet, how to pack a wound, how to apply a pressure dressing, how to apply chest seals, when and how to use a nasal pharyngeal airway, what does a needle decompression look like in certain classes for certain applications, so forth and so on. Then you have things like the force-on-force drills in the level 3 classes, CPR and AED, CASEVAC or casualty evacuation, situational awareness and relaying information to first responders. What happens when law enforcement shows up? If you're carrying a weapon, what does that look like? Rendering aid to downed officers. All this is discussed in either the level 1, the level 2, or the level 3 classes. And there are a myriad of classes available right now. And shout out to my beautiful wife for revamping the website at refugetraining.com. And so we've got Responder 1, which is Stop the Bleed, which is tourniquets, chest seals, pressure bandages, wound packing, airways, and a discussion on the entirety of the March algorithm. What does hypovolemic shock look like? The stages of shock, blood loss, situational awareness, all of that. That's Responder 1. We've got that in Charlotte, North Carolina, Orlando, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, Phoenix, Arizona, Salt Lake City area, Utah, Dallas, Texas, Wichita, Kansas. You got options here. So please sign up for the Responder 1. Then we've got Responder 1, 2, and 3, the Essential Responder, which is everything I just told you, plus CPR, plus AED, plus a full 8 hours of force-on-force scenarios, self-aid, buddy aid, CASEVAC, shooting bad guys with simunitions, getting shot at yourself. It's a blast. That's the Essential Responder. You've got one of those in Dallas, Texas, and one in the Salt Lake City area. Then you've got a level 3, which is Tactical Emergency Casualty Care in Phoenix, Arizona, which is force-on-force blue gun stuff. And so we have had many of y'all reach out and say, Bear, you need to do a class in Birmingham or wherever. Roger that, homeboy. We've been listening. You've got a full schedule of classes right here. If you are within a day's drive of any of these classes, I can't implore you more strongly, come take a class. Come see us. And if you need a group rate, if you've got 5 or more people that you'd like to bring to class, whether that's your small business, your church, your mutual assistance group, you and your best friends, your book club, whatever, the Tactical Knitting Association, whatever. If you need a group discount, you can use the Contact Us form here at refugetraining.com, or you can email admin@refugetraining as well, and we'll take care of you. And that, ladies and germs, is the entirety of the Bear Show today. Tim S., bless you for your Cat 320 with a thumb fund. You know, Tim, I'm amazed that you're even paying attention that deeply. I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much. Also, you can check out grindstoneministries.com if you'd like to donate to our ongoing operations, including the funding of Land for Caleb House, which is our rescue and rehabilitation facility for juvenile victims of human trafficking. So, we appreciate y'all. Y'all are the best. Believe it, tremendous. Believe it, the best 2024, perfect, incredible, Melania. Shalom.